Our next question to Climate One, welcome.
Hello, my name is Patrick Roddy. All the discussion, public discussion about solar radiation management has been about sulfates, whereas the research shows, David Keith's paper, 2010 paper in particular, talks about nanoparticulate aluminum and barium, both of which are highly toxic. Dr. Caldeira, I spoke to you before about your meeting at Lawrence Livermore when you talked about putting pathogens in the cloud to rain down on your enemies and do chemical and germ warfare, unquote, also a toxin. How can you reassure people that A, you're not planning on, or actually currently, putting toxins into the environment, and how can we prevent that from happening?
And you use solar radiation management, which is a term for bouncing the sun back into the sky. Can't go there.
So let me say that I don't remember, I don't want to assert that everything that was said in that question is correct.
Back when you were at Lawrence Livermore, you're on record as proposing putting pathogens into clouds to reign over enemy territory.
That's not true.
I have audio.
Show me it. Show me it.
I can play it to you. I got it on my iPhone.
Okay. I used to work at Lawrence Livermore National Lab, and I once participated in a meeting where we all sat around the room and thought about how could we manipulate geophysical systems to use it as a weapon. The meeting was about weaponizing geophysical interventions. That means, could you somehow interfere in Earth functioning in a way that you could use it as a military weapon? Could you change climate? What could you do in terms of manipulating the sort of Earth's physical systems as a weapon? Well, some of the ideas were okay, maybe we could blow up hydrogen bombs, underwater, offshore, and make a tidal wave that would go over a city. And, the result was, well, isn't it easier just to drop the hydrogen bombs on the city? Now, you could imagine, though, say, putting pathogens in a cloud. Let the cloud, go over somewhere and then would rain down on your enemy and create, do chemical or germ warfare in this kind of way. Yeah, this is true. Yeah. So we were in a room, and somebody said, "Oh, if you wanted to sort of weaponize things, could you?" Right? And I was just, and the conclusion was basically no.
But
that's a different thing. I never advocated.
Absolutely.
So
but don't you agree that that would cause pause for people who find you proposing seeding clouds? That in the past you talked about putting pathogens.
No, I didn't. First of all, I think you're putting words in my mouth.
I just played your words back to you.
No, I said I was in a meeting where people brought up the issue of could you weaponize, geophysical systems, and the conclusion was no. And if you're going to, I could lie and say I wasn't in such a meeting. I could make up stories to you. This man accuses me of lying, so I don't talk to him anymore. And so if you want me, I'm just telling you the facts. I was in a room. People asked, could you weaponize geophysical systems? And the answer is no. Okay, and you're going to take a sentence out of context.
I'm not.
Okay, or this man or somebody will take a sentence out of context right now and put it on the web and take out the part that says.
You don't find that could cause people concern?
I find it concern that people take little clips of what I say, one sentence out of context, and put it on the web instead of putting the whole context of and so.
That you were discussing weather warfare.
Well, I was in a room where it was brought up, and that concluded that there was no way to do it. And you're not going to put that on the web. You're going to put you'll put the part that says it was discussed, and you'll put out the part that says the idea was rejected. And I don't have a security clearance. I'm not in anything, there. I was in a room somebody brought it up. It was discussed briefly and rejected. And so because I'm open and talk about what I know, I have to suffer idiots taking little sound bites out of context and putting them on the web.
There you go. That was nice to say.
All right.
By the way, just a recommendation.
I don't want to talk to you
Stop
because
mentioning
I don't want to talk to
Cheney.
you.
Stop mentioning Dick Cheney all the time.
You talk about how he does. There are recordings of him saying it. He's a liar.
I played it to him.
You environmentalist idiots are falling for the biggest hoax that ever lived.
The one reason why people are looking at sulfur is because that's what volcanoes do, but you're right that scientists are thinking about other kinds of particles, including little microscopic bits of diamond, things like that. I think any major program would involve a huge number of flights and would have a huge infrastructure associated with it. I guess you could say that the Edward Snowden's revelations show that the government can keep something secret for a while, but that I think any kind of big secret like this eventually becomes public. So, first, and I should also just say that I'm an academic scientist who goes and, sits in front of a laptop computer all day long, and so I don't do any I don't have any infrastructure of my own to go spray things around. So diamonds in the sky, so maybe Lucy in the sky with diamonds was not a code for LSD, it was a code for geoengineering. I do think that this, there's a lot of this sort of selling and how things are spun. And, I'm actually very concerned that, we saw with the Bush administration that basically the American population accepted kidnapping and torture and accepted all these NSA knowing where we are and where we communicate all the time. And I think if the government announced, that, we're putting diamonds in the sky to protect you from climate change, and we've been doing that for the last decade, that I think that people would largely accept it. So I think this idea that people are going to refuse, be up in arms about this, if they weren't up in arms about the Bush administration revelations, I feel that the American population will accept anything.
If you wanted to make money, you keep the diamonds here.
There you go. This is Climate One, and we're talking about painting the sky. We are not drinking, I promise. But let's go to our next question.
So you said you're committed to truth, right? When we last spoke, actually no, 2 times back in Berkeley, and I played you the recording of your interview when you said that you were in a meeting at Lawrence Livermore Laboratories discussing how to weaponize.
No, not how to. I think.
No, so you do remember it then?
No. What I remember, there was a discussion. But you had. Have you ever sat in a meeting and discussed weaponization of climate alteration?
So you do remember?
No.
You remember our discussion?
Answer my question first. Have you ever sat in a meeting and discussed whether it would be possible to weaponize any kind of environmental alteration?
Not at a weapons lab.
No. I'm asking you, did you ever sit in a meeting and discuss whether it would be possible to weaponize any kind of environmental alteration?
I have discussed I've discussed the Army, the U.S. Air Force's document, by 2025.
Do you remember the second half of what I said? I know that you type.
You now remember this. You now remember now. This is good. Okay. You had no knowledge before. Continue, please.
Shut the fuck up, okay? Because I'm saying this because you don't let me talk. I know you're recording this. You like little clips, right?
Yeah, because
you like
edit.
to edit little things, right? Because you don't ever put the second half of what I said.
I put the whole thing in last time.
Okay. What was the second half of the thing? That there was a discussion about whether it would be possible for anybody to use Earth system things as weapons, and the conclusion was that it wouldn't make any sense to do that, and there was no sensible way to weaponize Earth system processes.
And one of the things you brought up was
if there was a discussion among some people, I never had any security clearance in an unsecured, open discussion about where the question was raised: would it be possible to weaponize manipulation of the Earth system processes? And the answer was no.
You've already admitted that was you on that tape, but then
I don't even know what tape.
the one I played in your ear in Berkeley.
I don't remember all that.
We had a Twitter back and forth. You know.
Well, then there's documentation, but I don't remember every person who comes up to me and plays.
But you certainly remember that conversation because we spoke about it last time. You admitted yes, I was there. We discussed.
I think I don't remember talking to you before. I believe I might have, but my memory's not so good. So I'm sure I did speak to you before if you said I did, but
okay.
I recollect.
Well, okay. Moving on slightly. You've read Dr. Keith's paper, The Photophoretic Levitation of Particles, the 2010 one. In that, it says that the sulfates are actually ineffective, and he says instead you should be using nanoparticulate aluminum and barium.
You're quoting it correctly, but anyway, yeah.
But he said, yeah. So why no discussion about things that are supposedly more effective?
What? Why is there no discussion?
Why are they in public when you go to public things like the Commonwealth Club or the hacking the climate thing at AAS?
I've never studied anything other than the only thing I've done in models is either turn down the sun or specify sulfate aerosols. I try to.
But you're aware that of all the research on aluminum and the fact that sulfates are ineffective.
No, that's not. You're putting
the Wells vaccine patent.
What?
The Wells vaccine patent.
I don't even know.
Raytheon owns that. Oh, you're aware of that one. The contrail. Whatever. You know. Well, I'll see you in Paris. Have a nice trip. Yeah. So, that's how you do it.
Okay, 2 last questions, very brief, please.
Okay. So my concern is for the human health impact of geoengineering. I know you're talking about sulfates and the aluminum stuff isn't discussed, and I wouldn't expect any of you to speak about a covert operation. But the respiratory failure has gone from the 8th leading cause of death to the 3rd.
We're not going for a speed.
No. I'm not. The question is, how can we have faith in organizations such as yourselves to take care of things like that when you yourself, as we spoke last time, discussed putting pathogens in clouds?
I happen to be a reviewer reviewing a paper right now on health impacts of solar geoengineering that is suggesting that many thousands of deaths would be caused by the aerosols, but small relative to what the sulfates are.
Not what you said. But my concern is, why isn't there more emphasis on the human health impacts? And does it affect the credibility of the panel?
The question is, why are we looking more at health impacts of geoengineering?
And not just sulfates, the other substances such as aluminum, barium, and strontium.
Considering putting into the atmosphere. So the reason we're concerned about global warming is because of the health impacts. Global warming, as Michael pointed out earlier, has a lot of negative effects on the health of people around the world. And
3rd leading cause of death being respiratory failure now? Sorry, I want the health impacts.
If you interrupted me, I just ignored you.
Okay, so let's just go to the